Hello and welcome to our Saturdays with Tara Hangout on Air. I'm Mary Beth at the Law of Attraction Club, and we're on the web at the loaclub.com. On these hangouts, we collaborate with our friends Tara. This hangout is the summary of our theme for the week and continues on our member conference line. Today's topic is joy really number one? And if so, how do you get there? You can get invites to our free open calls, which we offer periodically, and our powerful letting go process by going to the loaclub.com. You can also become a member by going to the loaclub.com/join. So now we're going to welcome Robin and Tara. So over to them.
Is joy really number one? And if so, how do you get there? Let's examine these questions. And because there's simply no way to answer them unless we start from the fundamentals of who you are, let's begin there. As we talk here today about the absolute you, see if you can, for just a short time here, allow your ideas about yourself to expand beyond the now version of you in the now version of your story. And as we'll be discussing today, those two things, you and your story, are really one and the same thing. Come sit on the crescent moon with us for a while and let's contemplate infinity. Here we go. You are all that is experiencing itself. You are a non-physical, timeless, spaceless consciousness. Your desires and intentions create you out of that collective consciousness. You're an always connected part of that source, interacting with other parts of that source. As you shift and flow and interact, you have experiences. These experiences lead to new choices and new desires, and so the evolution continues. This defines the shape of your consciousness and the matching you experience and the context around you, by which we mean it creates the physical and non-physical you and your worlds. You call that the law of attraction. Rachel last year pointed this one to an image that's another simple way of thinking of these infinite absolutes. It's from Anna Goldstein of Self in the City, and it's a sequence she calls Perspective 101. It goes like this. 1, something happens. 2, it means nothing. 3, we make up a story about what it means. 4, the story we make up creates our reality. It creates our world. It creates what's possible and what's not possible. We say, Amen. This is the sequence that is the endless, timeless, repeating story of you. Before and in and beyond your now story. 1, something happens. 2, it means nothing. 3, you make up a story about what it means. 4, the story you make up creates your reality. It creates your world. It creates what's possible and what's not possible. Now, you might say you've already made up a story about most of the things that happen in your world. You've already decided what they mean. That's the story you have become, and it's the story you are engaged within. But every part of that story began as an original choice that you then practiced into an old and very familiar story. And here's why that's important. Nothing is cast in stone. Every part of that story can be the subject of a new choice. You can make up a new story about what it means. And as you practice that new idea, so the world you're creating around you changes shape. From Bashar. In a theatre that shows many plays, there may be some props backstage that are frequently used for several different plays. For each play, that prop has a special meaning. But outside that play, the prop has no innate, intrinsic, built-in meaning. All the events that you experience as happening in your life are neutral props. Each event you experience has no innate, intrinsic, built-in meaning. And from this blank slate, you get to assign any significance or meaning you wish for each event you experience. As we often say, what you believe becomes, and you are the one who chooses what to believe. Now let's look at that always connected piece of which we spoke, because here's where your feelings come into the picture. When that connection is strong, you feel that in every fiber of your being. You feel good. You feel fantastic. You feel ecstatic. You're in sync with the universe. You're moving in the direction of your desires. You're being and experiencing that which you created yourself to be and experience. But sometimes you find yourself heading in the opposite direction. You can never break your connection to Source, but you can pull against it. That's what you experience as negative emotion. That's when you feel bad. So here's the simple and absolutely fundamental truth of it. If you're feeling good, you're being and doing what you created yourself to be and do, and heading strongly in the direction of your desires. And those, once again, all of those mean exactly the same thing. You choose your desires and intentions, even as your desires and intentions define who you are. You are exquisitely one with your desires. You exist because of them. You are creatures of desire, eternally at choice in all things, trying this and that, choosing new worlds to create and play within. Are you starting to see why we're always going on about the importance of feeling good? You could say that your emotions are a byproduct of your choices. You could say, therefore, that joy is not number one, that joy is just the byproduct of doing what you came here to do. And we won't disagree with you. We would just say that those things are inseparable. You can't experience joy unless you're heading towards what you've created yourself to be and do. And you can't be and do that unless you're feeling good. You're all joy seekers. Everything you do is done because you think it will make you happier. And there's not one of you will persist with something or anything for 1 second beyond the time that you believe that it will. Now, if we climb down from our perch on the moon and come at this from a worldly perspective, we know that for some of you, it looks as though we are being superficial. Surely you say, there must be some more lofty or divine purpose to all of this that I need to discover. And that cannot be just my own self-gratification. What about those selfless people that put their own needs aside and become shining examples of serving others for the greater good of mankind? Well, we would say that's one world thinking. You're thinking of that world as out there, as something external to you, as something you have to deal with, as something you have to be compassionate about. Of course, there's nobody on the planet who doesn't feel good being caring and compassionate. But we say, once you understand that the world is not out there at all, once you've wrapped your mind around the idea that it's merely a reflection of you, then what used to seem important and reasonable and responsible and logical gets turned on its head. Changing something in that world is not simply a matter of doing the right thing and supporting just causes. So, are there in your world selfless people that put their own needs aside and become shining examples of serving others for the greater good of mankind? And are you pointing to these artifacts of your creation and asking law of attraction questions about that world and those people you've placed within it? Can you see that we could make up a one-world answer to your question? But in truth, since you have created them and placed them on your stage, you need to tell us what they are doing there. Something happened. It meant nothing. But you're the one that's making up this story of yours. So now you must tell us what it means, because only you can decide that. Recognize that the starting point for changing anything about anyone is making a new belief choice, creating something new in you, and allowing a new matching version of everybody and everything to wrap itself around you. Of course, at any point in time, do what feels good. But the greatest compassion you can show for anybody is to know that you can create things differently, and then to choose to believe things about you and them and the world that make your heart sing, that bring great joy to you. And then watch what shows up. From Bentinho Massaro. If you're not happy, you're not helping. From Bashar. Being yourself is how you perform the best service to everyone else. We say you cannot intersect with the happy, connected versions of others until you step into the happy, connected version of you. So when you get down to it, joy is number one. And the way you experience that is to get into alignment with your desires, recognizing that when you settle comfortably and confidently into the role of being the creator you came here to be, you will soar. And everything around you will be soaring right along with you. It must. It can do nothing else. from Abraham. The same thought, just expressed a little differently. People say the joy is in the journey, but they rarely understand what they are saying. You are in this focused time-space reality with goals and objectives that call you because as you identify a desire, it literally summons life through you. Life summoning through you is what it's all about. It's not the completion of anything. In other words, it's not about manifestation. It's always about what do I want now? And now is a different story than then. You are always at choice. So don't settle for being less than who you are. Don't see yourself as trapped in your old story because, one, things will happen. They might mean something in your old story, but truly they mean nothing. Make up a new story about what they mean because, four, the story you make up creates your reality. It creates your world. It creates what's possible and what's not possible. You're here to tell a story. You might as well make it a good one. Fun is number one. Good.